This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Beirut and Damascus will exchange ambassadors and diplomatic representation. This was made official with the confirmation by President Bashar al-Assad's counselor after he met with the new Lebanese president, Michel Suleiman. Assad began his official visit to Syria yesterday. Aside from the specific details of the relations between the two neighboring countries, the two presidents also discussed the border issue, as well as the missing individuals during the civil war in Lebanon. More details with Intisar Yunus from Damascus.
A full presidential ceremony with the Lebanese cedar tree facing the Syrian eagle is indicative of the relations between Damascus and Beirut in the next period. Lebanese President Michel Suleiman's visit to Damascus was the climax of recent developments in the relations between the two countries after 3 years of crises. After the first day of their meeting, they announced their agreement to exchange diplomats between the two countries for the first time in their histories.
The two presidents agreed to establish diplomatic relations at the ambassadorial level between the Arabic Republic of Syria and the Lebanese Republic. The exchange will abide by the UN mandate, international law, and the Vienna Agreement for diplomatic ties.
Damascus regards Suleiman as an accordance president. It sees his visit as heralding a change that could be the basis for a new reality in the near future, since the institutions that guarantee the national interests of Syria have returned to Lebanon.
This visit is going to be one of the most successful visits between the two countries. It will open the door to solving problems, giving the Lebanese people what they want from Syria and what Syria wants from Lebanon. This visit will be an opening for a new era between the two countries. And I repeat that the problem was due to not having constitutional institutions in Lebanon. The problem was not in the Syrian-Lebanese relations.
The two presidents discussed other equally important files, including the missing people during the civil war in Lebanon and the border issue between the two countries. Suleiman's visit to Syria is the beginning of a transformation in the relations between the two sides. It also reflects a change in the region as a whole. But this is not necessarily the end of the crisis, since issues in the area have not yet been resolved. Intisar Yunus, Dubai TV, Damascus.
Naturally, the news of a Syrian embassy in Beirut was of great interest to the Lebanese, since the relations between their country and Syria are completely different from other countries. When asked about this, the people of the streets of Beirut had a variety of opinions about the future of relations between Syria and Lebanon, and the visit of Suleiman.
Exchanging embassies is the most important thing. It makes it easier for both sides. One embassy in Syria and another in Lebanon, both respecting one another. When one goes to the airport, there would be reciprocal respect, with Syria acknowledging Lebanon and Lebanon acknowledging Syria.
At the end of the day, we are two countries. Therefore, we need to exchange embassies.
We go to Syria without a visa. What's the use of having an embassy? What, just to spend money?
The embassies, yes, it is a very good idea. It would manage the relations between them. Why not? Everything would get organized. Just like there are embassies between us and other countries, why not with Syria?
It is essential, of course. It's an Arab country, as long as each one keeps to itself, though. But a commercial and political exchange is a very good thing.
منذ
Since Syria and Lebanon gained independence in 1943, the relations between them have been intense at times due to the lack of balance and goodwill, especially during the time when Syria had military presence in Lebanon. The following report by Hani Hatab sheds light on historical relations between Syria and Lebanon.
The Syrian-Lebanese relations were not always friendly since the two countries gained independence in 1943. Differences between the two countries arose at every political juncture. In 1955, when the two countries lost their common interests. In 1958, following the Egyptian-Syrian unity. Differences will probably arise in the future as well. Although Syria believes that Lebanon is part of historical Syria, it did not send Syrian soldiers into Lebanon, at least not publicly, until 1967, except in 1920 when the Greater Lebanon was announced. When the Lebanese Civil War began in 1975, Syria played the role of a mediator between fighting Lebanese groups. At the time, Palestinian armed fighters participated in the battles.
We decided to enter Lebanon under the title of the Palestinian Liberation Army.
In June of 1967, the Syrian army entered Lebanon for the first time with the support of the Arab League, as was agreed upon in the Riyadh and Cairo summits in October of 1967. The American diplomacy of Henry Kissinger also supported the move. The Syrian military presence in Lebanon was supposed to be temporary, but it continued for 30 years. During this time, the Syrian presence in Lebanon became permanent, with complete domination on both the internal and foreign affairs in Lebanon. This greatly damaged the bilateral relations between the two countries. After the Taif Agreement in 1989, in which Syrian-Lebanese relations were described as unique, a brotherhood and cooperating agreement was signed between the two countries. At the time, the Higher Lebanese-Syrian Council was established, but it did not succeed in improving relations between the two countries. Rather, it favored Syria. In the end of 2004, as the country was divided over whether to extend the term of the former president Emil Lahoud, the international jurisdiction for allowing the Syrian military in Lebanon ended. Resolution 1959 called for Syria to withdraw its forces from Lebanon a few months before Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri was assassinated. The assassination caused a lot of turmoil, which forced Syria to withdraw from Lebanon in April of 2005.
The main steps that were implemented earlier were within the context of the Taif Agreement, which is also supported by Resolution 1959. We will completely withdraw our forces that have been stationed in Lebanon to the Bekaa area.
The withdrawal of Syrian forces marked the end of 30 years of Syrian presence in Lebanon. This was followed by tense relations between the two countries. Syria was accused of being behind the assassination of Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri, which added more tensions to the unresolved issues between the two countries on several levels.
In the northern Lebanese city of Tripoli, calm has returned after the explosion which killed 14 people and injured 46 others. Political, religious, and military leaders attended the funeral processions that were held for the victims of the explosion.
This is what Tripoli's streets look like today. They are full of life again, only one day after the bloody explosion that killed 14 people and injured many others. The city is full of pedestrians and its commercial stores have been reopened. The traffic seems to be going smoothly. However, all this is happening amidst an atmosphere of caution, as everyone fears that such incidents may be repeated. Lebanese citizens believe that these incidents, which have become part of the Lebanese daily life, are intended to destabilize the country.
Whoever did this must be hanged. They should be hanged so we can live in peace. The Lebanese people want to live and have a peace of mind. We do not want them to make problems every week or two.
The return of calm to Tripoli does not mean that security has been comprehensively established. The army continues to surround the location of the explosion. Also, the army was deployed in different areas to prevent what happened from being repeated. Meanwhile, the bodies of the military personnel that were killed in the explosion were carried in a military funeral procession amidst a very sad atmosphere. The funeral procession was followed by condemnations by different political and religious leaders.
قد تلقينا المواقف المؤيدة للجيش والشاجبة للجريمة.
Positions were taken by different political, social, and religious leaders in support of the army and condemning this crime. Many positions were also taken by other security leaders who are in solidarity with the military institution.
Tripoli says goodbye to its sons, hoping to end a chapter of sadness. Hana Muhammad Mukshim, Al Arabiya.
نظم عشرات الطلبة الإيرانيين تجمعا احتجاجيا أمام مبنى منظمة السياحة الإيرانية.
Iranian students organized a demonstration outside the Iranian Tourism Department headed by Iranian Vice President Esfandiar Rahim Mashai, who said that Iran is a friend of the people in Israel. The protesters chanted phrases condemning Mashai's statements and demanded that he be expelled from Ahmadinejad's government.
في هذا المكان كان معاون الرئيس الإيراني قد عبر الشهر الماضي.
In this place, the Iranian Vice President Esfandiar Rahim Mashai said that Iran is a friend of the people in Israel. At the time, local media did not take these statements seriously. They believed that these statements were a slip of the tongue. Mashai, however, not only refused to retract these statements, rather he said he will repeat them 1,000 times. However, he stressed that his position does not differ from the official Iranian position, which does not recognize Israel as a state. Parliament Speaker Ali Larijani strongly criticized Rahim Mashai, and many parliament members believe that these statements are a big diversion from the policy of the Iranian regime. Some did not hesitate to call for the firing of the vice president.
The statements of Mr. Esfandiar Rahim Mashai do not reflect in any way the position of the Iranian government or people. I expect that Mashai will pay a price for his irresponsible statements. He should leave his post today before he's removed tomorrow.
Students who gathered outside the tourism department also called for removing the Iranian vice president. They chanted phrases accusing Mashai of declaring a truce with the Israelis and demand that he immediately resigns.
We are the daughters of the revolution. We can't forget the positions of the late Imam towards Israel. How can we be friends to those who rob Palestinian lands and kill the Palestinian people?
The Israeli nation is illegitimate, and it has no true identity. We cannot recognize Israel as a nation, and it is impossible for us to have relations with them.
Some reformers said that the statements made by the vice president will decrease the popularity of President Ahmadinejad, even among the conservative forces, if he does not deal with the statement's negative effects. The Iranian president said that Israel will be wiped off the map, while his vice president said that Iran is a friend to the Israeli people. These two positions are clearly contradictory. It seems that the internal debate in Iran about Israel and its people will continue until things become clearer.
Jazeera, Bahrain.
Hello there and welcome back to Press TV News. I'm Saeed Puriza. Turkish President Abdullah Gül says Iran's right to peaceful use of nuclear energy must be respected. In a joint press conference with visiting Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the Turkish president called for diplomacy and dialogue over Iran's nuclear issue. Ahmadinejad said Tehran welcomes continued negotiations based on law and justice. He said the U.S. government is using Iran's nuclear issue as a pretext to impose sanctions on the Islamic Republic. Ahmadinejad said atomic energy is a need for all nations and should not be termed an equivalent for a nuclear bomb. He said countries that have stockpiles of nuclear weapons themselves do not have the right to baselessly accuse others in order to deprive them of peaceful nuclear technology. Now, Iran's parliament speaker, Ali Larijani, says security and stability of Iraq is of great importance to Iran. Larijani made the remark in a meeting with the visiting Iraqi Deputy Prime Minister Barham Saleh in a reference to on Iraq's security pact negotiations with the United States. Larijani said the United States is seeking legitimacy for its continued presence in Iraq and in the region. Barham Saleh emphasized the need for expansion of ties between the two countries. He also said that Iraq supports Iran's investment in the reconstruction of the war-torn country. Well, still in Iraq, at least 15 Iraqis have been killed and some 40 others wounded in a double bomb attack on a group of pilgrims in the south of the capital, Baghdad. The pilgrims were heading for a religious ceremony in the holy city of Karbala when they were targeted by the blasts. Earlier, 5 Iraqis had been killed and 18 wounded in a series of bomb attacks in the country. Thousands of Shia pilgrims are underway toward the holy city of Karbala in order to commemorate the birth anniversary of their 12th Imam.
أهلا بكم من جديد. كشف رئيس الحركة الإسلامية في الداخل الفلسطيني الشيخ
During a press conference held by Al-Aqsa Institution for the Construction of Muslim Holy Sites, the head of the Islamic movement in Israel, Sheikh Raed Salah, uncovered an Israeli plan aimed at seizing the courts of Al-Aqsa Holy Mosque and turning them into public areas. According to Sheikh Salah, the Israeli occupation is planning to build a military bridge extending from the area of the Moroccan Gate to the Dome of the Rock Holy Shrine. In addition, Salah pleaded to the Arab and the Muslim world and urged them to take practical measures against this Israeli campaign before losing Al-Aqsa Mosque and Arab Jerusalem.
الأقصى المبارك في خطر حقيقي.
The Al-Aqsa Holy Mosque is in real danger, and during the upcoming stage, a Jewish synagogue will be built in the area of the Moroccan Gate. Under this title, a press conference was held today in Jerusalem by Al-Aqsa Institution for the Construction of Muslim Holy Sites. Through this campaign, Israel is planning to seize total control of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and expel Palestinian residents from the Holy City. The head of the Islamic movement in Israel, Sheikh Raed Salah, said that the Israeli project is part of a larger comprehensive campaign that the Hebrew state is planning to carry out in the city of Jerusalem. Salah added that Israel is working on building a military bridge extending from the area of the Moroccan Gate to the Dome of the Rock.
This means we are facing a real catastrophe that is growing on a daily basis. This also means that the Arab and the Muslim worlds must take immediate action, and their silence means that Jerusalem will be Judified and Al-Aqsa Mosque will be forever gone, especially if they continue watching from a distance.
Sheikh Raed Salah presented documents and maps carrying the signatures of officials in the State of Israel, as well as the signatures of the Jewish Quarter Development Company in Jerusalem and the Western Wall Heritage Fund. This proves that Israel is seriously seeking to seize control of Al-Aqsa Holy Mosque. According to the maps and the documents presented by Salah, Israel is seeking to turn the courts of Al-Aqsa Mosque into public areas. In addition, Israel is making preparations to build a public park on the gravesite of Bab al-Rahma.
Israel is dealing with the Palestinian people in an unprecedented, reckless manner. The Palestinian internal situation and division, along with Arab weakness and the silence of the international community, all these have helped create a new climate for Israel to accelerate its campaign of Judifying Jerusalem. The situation, as presented by Sheikh Raed Salah, is very frightening, dreadful, and dangerous. These cries for help are not coming out of nowhere. Indeed, they present an existing state of affairs that is easily seen on the ground.
The Islamic and national blocs are realizing that targeting the Al-Aqsa Mosque, starting from the Moroccan Gate, passing by the Al-Aqsa courts, and ending at the Dome of the Rock, is only the first step toward a total control of the old city. Many believe that the political institution in Israel will not hesitate to take over the Christian holy sites in Jerusalem. This news comes after priests and archbishops in Jerusalem warned against a possible Israeli takeover of Christian sites. Several Christian leaders came to voice their support to Sheikh Salah and the Al-Aqsa institution.
It's time to work for the sake of Jerusalem. We have heard enough speeches, words, and statements. Speeches and words are nice, but they are not enough. Now we need to work for the sake of Jerusalem. We need to take action on the ground. We need to join efforts at the national, international, Arab, Islamic, and Christian levels in order to rescue this holy city.
The maps are available and have been signed, and the documents are indicating that the groundwork has begun. Meanwhile, the political institution in the Hebrew state is waiting for the developments to play out before taking drastic measures on the ground. Such measures may include a plan to prevent Muslims from entering the noble sanctuary and preparation to seize total control of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The weak excuse given by the Israeli occupation forces claiming that the maps were drawn for the rehabilitation of the Moroccan Gate is no longer sound. The Hebrew state will not rest until it reaches its goals. In fact, Israel is no longer hiding its intention of trying to seize total control of the Al-Aqsa Holy Mosque and erase its Islamic legitimacy.
The Iraqi Ministry of Finance decided not to pay government employees the raise that they were supposed to get from September 2008 until the end of the year because the International Monetary Fund criticized the increase in money supply in the local market. The advisor of the Ministry of Finance, Diya Habib Al-Khayyon, confirmed that the raise will be paid in the beginning of next year. He explained that the IMF was angered by the large increase of money supply, since every employee will be overpaid by 1 million dinars, which explains why the total sum of overspent funds is in the billions of dinars. El-Khayyoun said that Iraq has long-term agreements with the International Monetary Fund, which has been managing Iraq's debts. The IMF said that Iraq must pay its debts instead of asking others to cancel them. He added that this agreement will end next year, after which Iraq will be free to do what it wants. It is worth mentioning that according to the Ministry of Finance, the raise of government employees in the past 3 months has increased inflation from 12 to 14%. Yemen claims that it has no intention to deport 200,000 Iraqis because some Iranians were caught in Yemen carrying Iraqi passports. According to the Yemen news agency, an official in charge of passports and visas refuted news reports saying that visas of Iraqis in Yemen will not be extended, explaining that this is baseless and that Yemen has no intention to deport anyone. News reports said that the Yemeni authorities are no longer renewing the visas of 200,000 Iraqis, most of whom are from the middle and south of Iraq, because a group of Iranians associated with the Houthi rebel group in Sa'da were caught with Iraqi passports. Meanwhile, the Iraqi community in Sana'a denied news reports that 200,000 Iraqis were forced to leave Yemen due to suspicion that some Iranians were carrying Iraqi passports. According to a security and medical source in the health district in Al-Wasafa in Baghdad, an explosion took place in Palestine Street in eastern Baghdad. The attack was aimed at the Minister of Education, Khadr al-Khuzai. According to the medical source, the Kindi hospital received 4 injuries, including 2 of the minister's bodyguards and 2 police officers. 1 civilian was also injured by the explosion, which was aimed at the convoy of Khadr al-Khuzai. At a later time, a source from the Ministry of Education said that the explosion targeted a convoy of cars for the district in charge of tests and evaluation, which is part of the Ministry of Education, injuring 2 security guards. Al-Khuzai was attending a ministerial meeting when the explosion took place. On the 26th of May 2007, the Iraqi government said that the Minister of Education was being investigated by the central Iraqi government after his guards opened fire inside one of the testing centers in Sab Bakr as students were protesting the poor services. The students were forced to take their final exams under the heat of the sun. The shootings, which injured one of the students, took place while the Minister of Education himself was watching. The government has not released the results of the investigation with Khadr al-Khuzai concerning this incident, despite continued requests.
أهلا بكم من جديد. تشهد بغداد حراكا سياسيا عربيا افتقد.
After a long absence, Arab diplomatic movement is returning to Baghdad. Visits by Arab diplomats breathed new life into Iraq after the announcement of reopening some Arab embassies. The United Arab Emirates was the first to make this move, which has reopened the door for deeper political and economic relations between the two countries. This step by the United Arab Emirates was followed by other Arab countries, which decided to return their diplomatic representation in the hope of bringing Iraq back to its Arab cradle. The remaining question, however, is whether the government is capable of safeguarding the diplomatic and political support of the Arabs.
Weeks, and maybe just days, separate Baghdad from the opening of 10 Arab embassies. The first to open its doors might be the Embassy of the United Arab Emirates, since according to government officials, its building is semi-complete. This came after the relative improvement of the security situation in Iraq and its diplomatic developments, according to the parliamentarians.
We welcome these steps by the Arab countries, especially the United Arab Emirates, since it was the first to open up to the new Iraqi state. Also, it was the first one to cancel Iraq's debt, which gives the UAE points with the Iraqi people, the government, and the country.
The visit by UAE Foreign Minister, His Majesty Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, was the first visit by a prominent official from the Gulf countries in 5 years. This opened a new chapter in the relations between Iraq and the Gulf. The opening of the embassy will lead to important economic relations, especially in the area of investment.
أصبحت الإمارات العربية من الدول المهمة في منطقة الخليج العربي وخاصة موقعها.
The UAE has become an important country in the Arab Gulf because of its location and activity in the economy and commerce, particularly in the field of investment. Iraq is now open to outside investment, and it might draw in capital funds and investors from the UAE.
وبالفعل فإن الأوساط تشهد تحركات واسعة لافتتاح السفارات العربية.
There are big preparations for the opening of Arab embassies, particularly that of the UAE. The Iraqi government is vowing to provide adequate protection for the embassy and their employees. In the next few days, Baghdad will also be hosting several world leaders. According to observers, the Emirates is a major player in convincing other countries of resurrecting their diplomatic presence in Iraq. This is a new initiative that corresponds to the current reality in Iraq. For Al Madar, this is Thuha Al Haddad, Abu Dhabi TV, Baghdad.
لبرنامج المدار ضحى الحداد قناة أبو ظبي بغداد.
Hi, I'm Jamal Dajani, producer of Link TV's News Digest Mosaic World News from the Middle East. This election year has the potential to change the direction of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East. With 30,000 American casualties and an untold number of Iraqi ones, we need this change more than ever. As you can see here, instead of increased news coverage of the war, there's been a sharp drop. Watching the news these days, you may think the war is over, but not if you watch Mosaic. Every day, Mosaic brings you an uncensored view of the Middle East from more than 36 broadcasters in the region. For us, the war isn't something that happens over there to others. It's something that affects all of us every day. And as long as that's the case, we promise to use our resources to bring you these uncensored stories. But we need your help to keep this promise. This is a critical time for Mosaic. We need to raise $200,000 in the next few months to keep this program on the air through December, to continue to send you our shows online and via podcast, to continue to produce the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Call Link TV now at 1-866-485-8848 because you value Mosaic, or go online to linktv.org. We need to hear from you before the fall to keep Mosaic going. You're already watching Link TV, so I know you value what we bring: freedom of speech, the power of information, and access to news from a wide range of perspectives. This is the moment when we need it most. Don't wait any longer. Call Link TV now at 1-866-485-8848. Go to linktv.org. Thank you for your commitment and for making Mosaic part of your life.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.